Hey guys, this is Katie up here in the Academy, and I'm just going to be running through my first lesson for you guys in the middle of this catastrophe with the coronavirus for 6th year higher level French, okay? So if you're one of my day school students or one of my grind students, you'll know the drill. We're going to start off class like normal with your verbs. Now I'm only actually going to give you 5 because I think we have enough, I suppose, sadness going on in our lives at the moment. We don't need 10. So I'm going to give you these 5 verbs. We've got you're drinking, we are scared, he is hungry, they can speak, and it was horrible, okay? So again, whatever way you're in the habit of doing these, if you want to do this on a rough piece of paper or even in the notes on your phone or something, or maybe just pause this for a second and try those. While you're doing that, I'm just going to fill in your phrase du jour, so same as normal. So again, if you're maybe watching this and you haven't seen any of my classes yet, I like to do this with all of my classes for French and Spanish in 5th and 6th year, that we just, at the start of every class, have a little phrase of the day that you can use elsewhere in your written work or your oral exam, and it's just a nice way to kind of have a list of nice like idiomatic phrases for French that can really help boost your language marks in a lot of the sections of your exam, okay? So our phrase of the day, la phrase du jour d'aujourd'hui, est ensemble on ira plus loin, which is very fitting for the whole situation that we're in at the moment. So ensemble means together. So ensemble on ira, so future tense of the irregular verb aller, and we're using the en, it's impersonal, but I suppose in English we would really say like we, or we would use the word you, so either one of those will work fine, okay? So together we will go further. So basically, if you think about when you could use that, in your opinion piece you could talk about something with regards to the environment, or something like this even for 5th years who may be watching this. I would imagine the coronavirus is probably going to take over your Leaving Cert exams next year. But we could use this phrase for a lovely kind of solution to a problem, a lovely ending to your opinion piece, even like you could use it in your introduction, whatever. But nice, not too difficult either, and very similar in the sense of how it's formed to English. It's not a complete, different phrase that we would use in French versus in English, okay? So let's have a look now at our verbs, okay? So again, I hope that you all actually pause this and you're not cheating, because I'm watching all of my 6th years and know what you are like. Okay, so again, maybe you're looking at this and you're like, wow, these look really easy in English, but I haven't maybe revised these an awful lot in class if you're maybe not in my classes up here. But basically, a lot of these I've been really trying to focus on at my 6th years at the moment, just because due to feedback that we got from our mock examiner, these were the kind of mistakes that kept coming up. So they might look very easy, but please don't be alarmed if you're looking at these and you have no idea, because these are quite common mistakes, okay? So you're drinking. So in English, this is what we call the gerund, right? So this is the present continuous. So I'm talking about something that is happening right now, okay? In French, we do have that tense, but it's what we call, like I would call it like 2 parallel lines, that we have the ing in French, so it usually ends in en, so A-N-T. But basically, I can't use that on its own. It has to be used alongside another verb. So for something like, you would say, I eat whilst I'm studying. So if I was going to use it in French, that's the kind of structure I would need. If I'm just talking about something like this, you're drinking on its own, in French I can just use the present tense, so tu bois, avec S, okay? So tu bois, the verb boire. Okay, we are scared. Now again, in French this is a little bit different, so we're going to use the verb to have fear, okay? So we've got the present tense here, and our good old friend avoir, nous avons peur. Okay, so quite literally we have fear, okay, so we are scared, and you just can't escape good old avoir, okay. He is hungry, same thing again, I'm going to say he has hunger, so I'm going to use il a, and then faim. Faim, we kind of don't pronounce the M at the end of it, but it means hunger. It's where we get the English word famine from as well, okay, so that might help you remember that. So il a faim. Okay, they can speak. Now, I was speaking about this to a few of my classes, a few of my grind students and stuff as well. In English, this is what we call a modal verb, okay? So our modal verbs are like helping verbs, and basically all that means is that they're going to be followed by, like in English, the infinitive, so the name of the verb after it. So there are verbs like devoir, pouvoir, vouloir, savoir, all of those kind of things, like to want, to know, to have to be able to. So I'm going to use the verb to be able to here, so the verb to can in English, which you know is pouvoir, and that is also a boot verb. So it has 2 stems, so it's a radical changing verb. So ils peuvent is they can, and then I'm just going to use the name of the verb to speak. En français, c'est parler, ils peuvent parler. Okay, so they can speak. And it was horrible. Again, really easy phrase, even if you are a very advanced junior cert student watching this, you could use this in your junior cycle exams. So c'était horrible. And you have to be very dramatic with your French accent, guys, okay, especially for these oral exams whenever they're going to happen. So c'était horrible. Okay, now, so that's just our little introduction, get everyone back on track with a bit of French. I'm sure we're all over the place at the moment, so that's fine. Now, if you were in class with me on Wednesday, guys, or sorry, not on Wednesday, on, what day is today? What day is today? Friday. Sorry, yeah, so yeah, it was on Wednesday. Wow, my mind is going, right? But yeah, so if you were in class with me for our double on Wednesday up here in the day school, I would have given you out this set of notes just on the off chance that I wasn't going to see you, and now we've been separated for a month and I'm sure everyone's devastated. So these are your Power of Protest, les Gilets Jaunes notes. So if you want to just pause this, go and get your notes out because you're going to need these to have a look through them, okay? So what I would do is pause the video here for a couple of minutes, and the first thing that you're going to need to do, I'm not going to waste your time reading through this because I'm sure everyone's capable of reading stuff in English. I'm worried for you if you can't, okay? But I would just have a look at the inside of these notes, okay? And read through pages 1 to 3, because basically this is all just in English. And like you all know, in my classes, I really like to kind of make sure that everyone understands the concept in English before I just dive straight into the French of it. But basically, what I'm going to do just to kind of keep things going for the video so that no one actually falls asleep, once you have those read, we're just going to go through a really quick summary. And if you want to follow along, the summary is set à la page numéro... C'est à la page numéro 3, okay, les Gilets Jaunes summary, so it's just down here. Okay, so maybe if you're watching this and you don't have the notes, this might help you just to kind of get a little bit more information, a bit more background as to what les Gilets Jaunes are, okay? So, first of all, if we even just look at the name of these, okay, jaune means yellow, so that's where we get like the word like jaundice and stuff from in English. That, you know, you might have a condition with your skin that it begins to turn a little bit yellow. And then a gilet, as all the girls will know from buying the fake fur ones on Misguided in the winter, is a sleeveless jacket or a vest, okay? So literally the yellow vests, right? So basically what these are, so if we're having a look, just to make sure I have these in the same order as you guys, Les Gilets Jaunes was a movement that started in France back in November 2018, okay? So I'm just going to start off here. And basically what happened was the French president, Macron, said that he was going to increase the price or like taxes on fuel for cars and stuff to try and move France towards using more green energy, more sustainable energy. So it was actually a good idea, but obviously that's going to have an effect on people who maybe are already struggling financially and just don't have the luxury of being able to pay more for certain things. So because of this increase in our taxes, okay, so it was as a result of taxes and other changes made by Macron, who is the French president, that basically this group of like just normal everyday people just decided, they were like, do you know what, we've had enough, we have to do something, we have to protest against this, okay? So very similar to maybe the protests in Hong Kong that were happening last year, or say like the new protests that are being done by students against climate change, that it's just normal people coming together and saying, do you know what, we actually have to kind of fight for this. So it's just a group of normal everyday people, so again, that's written in your notes there. So ordinary working class people, and they were named after the yellow vests that motorists wear in France. I feel like they wear them everywhere, right? But like a high-vis vest, that they were called les Gilets Jaunes, so the yellow vests, because they were representing the whole idea that these taxes were going to be increased against the price of fuel and petrol. So it's just a symbolic kind of thing that they did, okay? So what is it? So let me make sure it's the same. So again, yeah, just a movement. Now initially it was started off to be a peaceful movement, and then some events happened and it went a little bit more violent. But just for the time being, we're just going to stick with the word movement, okay? It doesn't really matter what type of movement it is. So we have here in our notes, so movement to encourage change in laws, on politics in France. So obviously, like, it doesn't even have to just be for your French exam or for anything like this. It's the same as everything. Like when you eventually decide to take action about something, that maybe you were initially doing it against one change, and all of a sudden then like everyone gets really riled up and you're like, okay, no, like let's actually change everything. You know what I mean? It's like when you say to a student, say to a sixth year, like, what's the worst thing about the Leaving Cert? And then all of a sudden it's like a 25-minute conversation about how much you absolutely detest the whole education system. So we got the ball rolling, and then they kind of decided they wanted to change even more things with this, okay? So this is what I have in the notes then as well. So it began in response to a new fuel tax, okay? So new fuel tax to encourage more use of green energy. Okay, so hopefully that kind of might help you just understand what this whole movement actually is. And like that, if it came up in your oral exam or something, if the examiner said, like, you know, like, savez-vous quelque chose des Gilets jaunes? And do you know anything about the Gilets jaunes? That you would actually understand what the question is and have a little bit more information, even in English, in your head to try and think of in the exam, okay? So we have here, so they started in November. It's, some people will also say October, but it's not really that deep, just towards the end of 2018, in the latter half of 2018, okay? And then I've got in your notes here, so throughout France, so it began in very small rural areas in France, and then when the whole movement picked up a little bit more traction, they ended up becoming a little bit more violent, and there was big events in Paris and Toulouse and stuff, but began in small rural areas. And then we had key events happen in Paris and Toulouse, okay? Now, so what, like the whole movement initially, like I was just saying there, started off initially as a peaceful movement, right? And what they were going to initially do, sorry, how many times am I going to say the word initially? I'm just wondering, okay, 'cause I have to stop. But what they were going to do were things like roadblocks, peaceful protests. But then, like that, as it picked up a little bit more traction, it became a little bit more violent, okay? So I have here, so the non-violent actions that they took were roadblocks, they barricaded roundabouts, so kind of like me trying to get to school yesterday and I couldn't get past Hadden on a roundabout because everyone was trying to get into Lidl. And then they had things like blocking off fuel depots and garages, and then violence, okay? So the violence kind of actually, the key moment, and this is in your notes as well for anyone who's following along, kind of picked up traction in December in 2018, and we have things here: petrol bombs, burning cars, buildings set on fire, windows smashed. So it obviously took a huge turn, okay? So I'm just going to write here petrol bombs and burning cars. Okay, so you can see what I mean about, you know, a small group of people deciding, you know what, we're going to protest, we're going to block off some roundabouts, and we're going to block off a few roads. We're going to make things a little bit uncomfortable for people. But then, as it kind of got more popular, people got more and more riled up, it became more and more violent, and obviously then, wow, that is the worst test I've ever written in my life, okay? But it obviously became way more extreme, okay? So if you have a look down on page 4, right, I'm just going to run through these while I wrote out this board, so if you need to take a screenshot, I'll just get out of your frame for a second and you can screenshot the board if needs be. Okay. But I have here then in your notes, right, so the related topics. Now what I mean by this is not for the oral exam, okay, we're kind of having another little look back into our written paper more so now, just because obviously the oral exams are a little bit up in the air at the moment. So in terms of, again, rather than just learning this and hoping that les Gilets jaunes come up, what can I learn this for and make sure that I can use it if other things come up? Okay, so again, we're trying to be savvy, we're trying to be very clever with what we're learning. So I have here in your notes, sorry, I am so paranoid about my whiteboards. You will know if I'm your teacher for grinds or day school, like I need to have my whiteboards perfect, and I'm just writing on it as I go, so that's good. Alright, so I have here on page 4, so I'm actually just going to run through these in English and in French, just on the off chance that any of these words come up in your oral exam that you know how to pronounce them as well. Okay, the first thing then that you might want to mark if you don't know this, so like we just had here, right, so this verb here, they can speak, is from the verb pouvoir, right? If you're going to use that as a noun, so I have here the power of protest, le pouvoir de protester. Pouvoir can also be the word for power, okay? So that's actually the same for anyone who's doing Spanish with the verb poder. But if you're going to use it, it's masculine, okay? So le pouvoir de protester. Okay, then the power of peaceful protest, we've got le pouvoir de la manifestation pacifique. The strength of the people, la force des gens. The importance or the power of money, l'importance. And please, if you're going to say that, or if you're going to use the adjective important in your oral exam, please do not say important. You want to get that kind of like nasal sound out, so l'important or l'importance, ou le pouvoir de l'argent. The problems with the tax system now, please don't start talking about this in your oral exam, okay, because like no one knows how to do taxes anyway, so like let's leave this. But anyway, on the off chance that you're a freak and you like talking about taxes, this is how you pronounce it. Les problèmes avec le système des impôts. And I say this at least once a week in class, but if you don't know this symbol in French, so the little chapeau, the little hat, means that in Old French there actually used to be an S after that letter. So if you have a look at that word there, les impôts, that would have been les impôts, because a tax is something that is imposed on you. So think of words like hôtel or hôpital or anything like that, that all have that little symbol, that sometimes it can be really good if you're not sure what a word means to have that trick in your head, okay? Then we've got the problems with the government, les problèmes avec le gouvernement, and the importance of standing up for what you believe in. L'importance de se battre pour ce en quoi on croit. Okay? Now, so sorry, I just want to make sure I'm on track with what I want to get done with you guys today. Okay, now, what I want to have a look at then is directly underneath that, sorry, I just wanted to check the page there. So, à la page numéro 4. What I would do is if you're going to be learning these sentences, so like that, we're not just learning something all for one topic. So I would have a look at these sentences and say, okay, could I change a word here and use this for something else, right? So let's have a look, right? So le mouvement des Gilets jaunes est une manifestation contre l'inégalité. So the Yellow Vest movement is a demonstration or a protest against inequality. So could I maybe say there, just to show you how to tweak that, we could say le mouvement de, let's say, so the student movement, right? So if we were going to talk about here like the protest against climate change, now obviously we don't have a full movement of students, like it's not a group or something, but we could use it. So this whole movement of students, le mouvement des étudiants est, and I'm pronouncing that T because my next word starts with a vowel, okay? Est une manifestation contre le changement climatique or le réchauffement mondial. Okay, so if I'm just specifically talking about climate change, I would use that. If I want to talk about global warming, I could say le réchauffement mondial. And what I'd be saying there, so maybe if you don't have these notes, you might want to scribble a couple of these down, okay, or even have these in your notes beside your sample sentences there, just so you know how to tweak them, okay? But the movement, le mouvement des étudiants, of the students, is a protest or demonstration against climate change or global warming or something like that, okay? Then we've got there, so il faut dire que les Gilets jaunes expriment un fort sentiment d'injustice, okay? So it must be said that the Yellow Vests express a strong feeling of injustice, okay? So again, how could I tweak that and get more value for my money, okay? So il faut dire que, we could say here, for argument's sake, que les jeunes, that young people, que les étudiants, we could say que les gens, whatever, just people in general, and then again, exprime un fort sentiment So I've got here in your notes, right, d'injustice, okay? So it must be said that whoever this is, whoever we're going to mention, and then I've got the plural version of my verb. So maybe if you were going to use this with something singular, so like a president or something like that, you would just get rid of the NT here and keep this singular as well. So exprime un fort sentiment d'injustice, so express a strong feeling of injustice. Now, what else could I say here? Okay, I could say de tristesse, which is sadness. I could say d'inquiétude. And I don't know why, but I love the sound of that word. Okay, d'inquiétude is worry. Okay, you can say distress. I'm assuming I don't have to translate that word, and if I do, I'm worried for you, okay? So d'injustice, de tristesse, d'inquiétude, distress. Or if we're maybe not going to be absolutely, so negative, we could say de félicité, which is happiness. Or, just having a look at what we had earlier, okay, so we are scared, we could say de peur. And there's a phrase there for your oral exam if you get asked in the coronavirus, okay? So it must be said that people, que les jeunes, expriment un fort sentiment de peur. It must be said that people are really trying to express this, huge feeling of fear. Okay, and this whole idea that everyone's buying bread and toilet roll. Apparently that's what we do in Ireland when we're scared of something, okay? But you could use that sentence and tweak it to use it elsewhere, okay? Then you've got simple things. So the demonstration illustrated a common problem in France, okay? Leur manifestation. So if I was again going to be talking about these, okay? Illustrer un problème commun pour tout le monde, okay? So their demonstration illustrated a common problem for everyone, or par tout le monde, all around the world as well, okay? So I'm not going to read through every single one of these because I'm sure we've got better things to be doing with our time. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give you a kind of little activity that I would do now. So I'm imagining that this is a double class, right? So we've kind of got a little bit of background information and now kind of to have a little bit of thinking time, and then we're going to have a look in a few minutes at a sample answer kind of based off of this topic. So again, I'm just going to rub this out for a sec, so I'll get out of your frame if you want to screenshot those really quick. So if you want to scribble them down in your copy or whatever. And now I am going to give you your activity, and then we will have a look at our opinion piece for the next lesson, okay? So we've got two options here, right? So I'm going to give you two. I'm just going to get my diagrams out here, guys. Don't worry, I hate myself as well, it's fine, right? So, les devoirs. Yes, I can even give you homework virtually. It's great. I feel very powerful about this. Okay, so two options, right? So based on kind of what way you like to learn or what way you want to learn this, you'll know if you've been in my grinds or you've been at a Christmas course with me, or if you're a day school student, this upside down triangle is one way of maybe kind of condensing a very broad topic into an opinion piece answer and how to tweak your stuff, right? So we have 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3. We've got our introduction et la conclusion ici. So what I do with this is, right, so if we're trying to get up here from the top part of the triangle down to the most narrow point, right, so we got from our introduction down to the conclusion. So I'm going to look at this from it being like as broad as possible down to as narrow as possible. So what I would like you to do is have a think about this whole idea of manifester, okay, so protesting. So manifester is more in lines of like peaceful protest, like a demonstration, and then protester is just protesting in general. So have a think about these ideas, right? And forget about an opinion piece question. Maybe plan an answer, or like plan your ideas with this in the sense of what's happening globally. So, I don't know, like let's say maybe by the time you're watching this, the whole world is going to be doing protests against coronavirus or something, so God knows, right? What's happening globally that people are protesting about? Is it still climate change? Maybe you could talk about the protests that happened in Hong Kong recently, all that kind of stuff. Then maybe what's happening in Ireland at the moment, what's going viral. And they don't have to be related, so maybe you're going to have one huge issue up here, but then maybe what's happening around you at the moment is like that. Maybe there's parents that are protesting about the schools being closed or something, okay? So they don't have to be related. And then for point number 3, what's happening in your life that you feel as though it would be a good idea to protest against, or like what are the big issues that you're surrounded with, or how could you be more involved with protesting, okay? Do you go to the student protest against climate change? Maybe you protest your mum or dad if they, I don't know, give you too many things to do. I know my sisters definitely protest against me, I give them too much homework, okay? But all jokes aside, try and bring yourself into these ideas so that if something does come up in an opinion piece, that you can share your opinion, you can share your own experience and stuff with it, okay? So that might be one activity that you could do to just try and get your thoughts together before we look at this opinion piece. Or something slightly different, and I actually had this on my teaching Instagram, which is as cringy as it sounds if you don't know what it is, and I apologise, okay? That, let's say for argument's sake, if I was going to take this whole idea of manifester or protester, right? So I'm going to, regardless of which one it is, right? If I'm just talking about the idea of protest, okay? Basically what I'm going to do is word vomit onto the page, okay? I'm going to put it into 2 columns, right? And we're going to use these 2 words in English. So no and no. Okay, because I think that I'm really cool that I managed to even think of that on the spot, and anyway, let's move on. So what I would do is, on this side of the page, literally, okay, give yourself one word, and you can do this for anything, right? Give yourself one word and then maybe give yourself 6 or 7 minutes and put a timer on it and write down as many words that you know in French that you could bring into that topic. So for argument's sake, you might have things like violence, or you might have protester, or les étudiants. Like, it doesn't have to be very advanced vocab or whatever. Okay, but once you've done that, and the reason I would do that first is because it can sometimes be a little bit of a nice way to calm yourself down, that everything doesn't seem new all the time, that you can focus on what you actually do know. So fill in this side of the page, and then when you're done with that, get a different colour pen, and then in English write down the words that you would like to know to add to that word bank, and then spend time looking those up and maybe trying to test yourself on them, okay? So I would do maybe 2 columns in this, so English and then Français. And I would do them in 2 different colours, again, just trying to stay visual with things and make sure that our brains are finding it a little bit easier to differentiate. But again, this is kind of your comfort zone, this is what you do know, this is a little bit of a nice way to calm yourself down, especially when you're looking at such a complex topic. And then this is going to be what you need to work towards, whether that's for your opinion piece or your oral exam. So I hope that makes sense, okay? But I just used to find that very helpful when I was in 6th year, trying to learn loads and loads of vocab and freaking out and being very nervous, very stressed all the time, okay? So I'm going to leave this kind of section of this lesson here because I want to kind of take our time with the opinion piece and go through our sample answers together. So again, maybe if you are one of my students and you weren't in class and you didn't get these notes, if you want to message me on my teaching Instagram, and I will get a copy of them sent over to you so you can follow along with this. But I'm going to leave you guys here, and we will come back to our next lesson in a little while. Okay, so merci beaucoup, à tout à l'heure.